Moving on to red here, we've got Goblin Tombstalker. Tomestalker, I suppose. Wait, no. Goblin Tomestalker. Yeah. Raider. There's no stalker in this card. Let's start this over. We got Goblin Tome Raider. The single red mana for a 1/2. Goblin Pirate. As long as you control an artifact, it has +1/+0 and haste.
Yes, the tomb. He's a Tomb Raider, right? Like it's.
Oh yeah, duh. Obviously.
Yeah. Okay. And that's where he's stealing the treasure from, just like in the movies. You know.
Yeah.
Tons of Tomb
I
Raiders.
get it. I am. My brain is turned on now.
Okay. Yeah, this is so red. Red's pairs like red green is dinosaurs, red white, but then red white, red blue, and potentially even red black are all on the more aggressive side, and probably mostly want you to pair with artifacts. So I think this thing will be pretty easy to get turned on, and if you do, it's like pretty good tempo for a 1-drop.
Yeah, this is the artifact version of Gitu Lava Runner from Dominaria, OG Dominaria, and that card was quite strong. Best red common in that format if you were drafting it right. And yeah, I think this is a really good 1-drop. I'm a big fan.
You want to give this? I'm not going to go higher than a C plus.
No, I wasn't either. But I would just say in most aggressive red decks, like I think aggressive red decks in this format are also artifact decks. Like they care about artifacts, so it's not like it's this big ask of you. So I'd give it a C plus.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you there.
That's Goblin Tombstalker. Sunfire Torch is up next. This is a single red mana for an artifact equipment. And it says, equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has, whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice the torch. When you do, this creature deals 2 damage to any target, and the equip cost is only a single mana.
Yeah, if this was in another set, I'd be really low on this, but just being an artifact that boosts power, gives reach, like you can tap it at equipment, I think there's going to be blue-red aggro decks and maybe even white-red decks that want to play this.
Also kind of interesting that the creature deals the damage, not the torch, which is like a weird flavor fail. But like, yeah, you know, the death touch obviously works well with this, and there is a decent amount of death touch we've seen. It's not like it's like on one card or something.
Or lifelink.
Yeah, or lifelink. Yeah, great. Ooh, yeah. That I didn't even think about that. I like it. I think it's not quite as good as just a shock, but it's different, right? I think it's not just worse than a shock.
I was going to give it a C minus.
I was just gonna go C. I think you're gonna be happy to play. Honestly, I would not be surprised if you're happy to play multiple copies, in your aggressive decks. But
yeah, maybe.
what's up next?
Next we have Tectonic Hazard. Red for a sorcery, deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature they control.
Sideboard, and probably not bringing it in very often.
I don't even think there is a deck that you want this against. Like just the stat lines in this set just don't line up with this.
Yeah, I can imagine you're just like, you know, they have the death touching 2-drop that mills 2 and like the bat. You could have a deck where it's like, yeah, they have enough stuff, but not something that's, yeah, I wouldn't assume I'm gonna bring this in if I draft it. So just sideboard, and not a very good sideboard grade.
I'm just gonna give it an F.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Because if it's a sideboard card that you don't sideboard in, that's an F.
Yeah, that's a good point. A-Braid is up next, and I'm actually kind of surprised they printed it. At least I comment. 1 in a red for a instant. It deals 3 or destroys an artifact. You get to choose.
So this might be a hot take grade.
Ooh.
I'm gonna give this an A minus.
Yeah. No, I was gonna give it a B plus. But I do not feel bad about giving it an A minus. I'm gonna join you at A minus. I think you've been kind of on an island with your hot takes, and I've been a bit tepid to join you. But this one I will. It's just so efficient. It kills not everything, but man, does it kill a lot of things for 2 mana. Like all the cheap non-artifact creatures, all the expensive artifacts. Your opponents, yes, you can't blow out craft, but they craft and you kill it. I don't know. Really, really good.
Yeah, it just deals with so much for 2 mana at instant speed. Like, yeah, this is going to ruin a lot of my shenanigans.
Yeah, Chad's asking, how is that a hot take? Well, we know A-Braid's really good, but often commons don't get to the A range, right? That's why it's it might seem like that.
A's are cards that basically single-handedly win you the game,
right?
And so, especially removal spells, they don't usually get there.
Yeah, it's an efficiency A, and this one especially because it's so efficient and is so. It's obviously conditional, quote unquote, but less conditional than it seems.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Next up, we've got Ancestor's Aid. This is 1 in a red for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn, and you make a treasure token.
So I don't remember if you said this on stream or if you wrote it somewhere that like they basically printed this card in
Strixhaven.
Strixhaven.
Yeah.
And you said it was decent in like the red white aggro decks. And,
Mhm.
and I played like a ton of the red white aggro decks in Strixhaven, and I basically never played this card.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
mean, you played that deck more than I did for sure, so I'll default to you.
I start lower on this, but the fact that the treasure, well, A, there's less removal, so you don't get blown out as often when you go for a trick on your attacking creature. But B, the fact that this makes a treasure, like making an artifact at instant speed is huge here. I think this card is much better than it was in Strixhaven.
Yeah, and just being an artifact set definitely helps a lot. There was also it was kind of funny. The reason I brought that up, and it was in Discord, somebody posted this card and said, "Is this going to be a playable card?" And or no, they said, "Did they finally get this card right?" And I was like, "What are you referring to?" And they mentioned Kindled Fury, and it's a completely different card, right? Because like 1 is so much worse than 2. Two means your 2s trade up with 4s quite often. That's
Yeah, not on the mana side. You mean on the plus power side?
yes. Plus power. It's just two +2 instead of +1. Yeah, that's a good to clarify there. But my point was just that Kindled Fury is bad because it doesn't help you trade up enough of the time. This one, that it's a substantially different card.
Yeah. I still am not super high on this. I was going to give it like a C.
Yeah, C seems fine.
Somewhere between C and C minus. So I think I'll go with C.
Sweet. We got Burning Sun's Cavalry up next. 1 in a red for a 2/2. And it says, whenever Burning Sun's Cavalry attacks or blocks while you control a dinosaur, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And this is a human, not a dinosaur itself.
Right. And there's also in the file, like our first dinosaur for red is going to be a 4-drop, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. So there's really not a lot of support at common for cheap dinosaurs. So this will just be a 2/2 for 2 for the first couple turns of the game, a decent amount of the time.
And then when it gets upgraded, it's like, fine. It kind of keeps pace with the game somewhat. But
yeah, like you still want 2 drops in your dinos deck, and you'll be happy enough to play this just to have something, but not going to be a great card, I don't think.
No. I would just give this, like, again, with the understanding that you're playing this in a deck with enough dinosaurs, it's like a C minus, probably just a C.
Yeah, I was going to give it a C, but that's like, again, we're rating it only for red, green, C. Like every other color doesn't want it at all.
Yeah, and Chad's saying, if you're red green, you're gonna play that, and I agree with that. But it is very important, I think, to understand like where the strengths of your deck lies. Like if it's in the 2s, if it's in the 4s, that kind of can inform deck building and stuff like that. So I think like striving for a deeper understanding is important in this case. Next up, what do we have?
I do think like your best red green cards will not play this card.
Right. Yes, that's a really good way of putting it. That's where the distinction is, right? That if your deck is awesome, it's not just like, oh, I was like, this goes in there, I'm a dinosaur deck. It's not that powerful. So you might not even play it sometimes.
Yeah.
What do we have next?
Next we have Sunshot Militia, 1 in a red for a 1/3, and you can tap 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control to deal 1 damage to each opponent. Great card, except activate only as a sorcery.
I thought I read this card like 3 times before I saw that last line of text. Just classic Magic players not reading to the end of the card, and I was so excited for it because I'm like, okay, it's like this is Siege Zombie from Midnight Hunt, but nah, it's so much work. Tapping your things as sorcery speed to do this is like hilariously bad in some spots. Like you're just like never gonna want to do that. You have to be like purely the aggressive deck in the matchup, and your opponent has to not be able to pressure you back to punish you for tapping 2 things. So yeah, pretty out.
I think like changing it to a sorcery is like more than a full letter grade worse.
Yeah, like I think this is like a D minus, maybe a D. I don't know. It's not.
I think it's like a D, and I think it'd be like a maybe even like a B minus if it was instant speed, because you could really machine gun people if it was instant speed.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, we've got a volatile Wanderglyph, 2 mana for a 2/2 artifact creature. When it becomes tapped, you can discard a card, and if you do, draw a card.
Yeah, this is cute because it's an artifact for the artifact decks. It's like triggers descended for red black, and then red white can just tap it without attacking to rummage.
Yeah.
So I like the design on this card. I think you're gonna play a good number of these, but certainly not all of them. So probably just gonna give this a C.
Yeah, I would say so too. Like, if you're facing this card, you're gonna want to trade off with it. You're not gonna be like, I can just ignore that thing. Yeah, that's fine. C for the Wanderglyph. Brazen Blade Master is up next. This is a 3-mana, 2 and a red, 2/3. That if it attacks while you control 2 or more artifacts, it gets +2/+1 until end of turn. It's a pirate too, orc pirate. So we got a 3-mana, 2/3 attacks as a 4/4 if you control 2 other artifacts.
Yeah, most times this effects are bad. Like there was even the 2/4 vigilance in Phyrexia Olby one
Mm-hmm.
that get +2/+0 if you had an artifact, and that even worked on defense. And that card was pretty bad. There's just so many artifacts
Yeah,
in this set, though.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, just not. It's gonna be trivial. Might not be the right word, but you won't have to work too hard for this. So I like this as a C+, honestly.
See, okay, I'm gonna give it a C minus. I
Okay.
still am not a
Yeah.
full believer in this because
Okay.
I like it'll be really hard for it to be always on turn 4, and it doesn't block very well.
No, you're right. Hmm. I still I think I still like a little bit more than you do. And again, the classic layout came out of my mouth. I'm gonna settle on a C, but I
Okay.
agree with all the things you just said though. I just think the upside to a little bit deeper. I think the upside of like attacking for as a 4/4 pretty consistently on turn 4 is enough for me to give it that bump. What it comes down to. What's up next?
Next is a Tali's Favor. 2 and a red for an aura. Enchant creature you control. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. And when this ETBs, discover 3.
Yeah, such an interesting card. So imagine this said 3 mana +1/+1 trample, draw a card. How much do you like that?
It'd be decent.
Yeah, you like
It's pretty
you
good.
suit up your 2, right? You go 2 into this, and you attack for 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah, this is better than that
Yes,
though.
definitely. Yeah, quite a bit better.
This can even like the perfect deck is just like 18 mountains, a single 2-drop, and like 20 of these, right? Because you just
Just keep
play a
stacking them.
2-drop.
Yeah.
Well, you can cascade or discover multiple of these, right? Like if you can hit one, hit the next, hit the next. You can hit more than one of these at a time.
Yeah, that's actually something we didn't talk about, but you can discover off your discovers, right? Like that's
Yeah.
a thing. When you cast it, it doesn't say from your hand. It just says when you cast it. Huh. So I like I asked that question because exactly like you said, it is better than that, and I think you're just gonna go 2 into this a lot of the time and be pretty happy with it.
When I first read this card, I was like pretty high on it, and then it is pretty similar to Red Tooth Genealogist in
Yeah.
terms of like you get a 2/3 and you get a +1/+1 and trample roll, right? Like instead of a royal
Mm.
roll. Genealogist was a card that kind of underperformed, but it was also a card I was pretty high on in the set review. And I do think that Genealogist, if you put it into most sets, would still be a pretty good card. But this does have the blow up potential of like you target the creature, they abrade the creature, and you get nothing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely true. But I would say the upside of a genealogist is this is a red card. Genealogist was a green card, and I would say in red green, genealogist was still quite good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm still a believer in this card. I just wanted to temper that a little
Yeah,
bit, I
of course.
guess.
I wanted to really hone in on it. I was gonna give it a C.
I,
Would you go
okay,
any higher?
after tempering it, I was going to go C plus. Like I
Okay,
think you're
yeah.
going to play all of
Yeah.
these, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Fair enough. Yeah, I
you
guess
just got
that's
to
what
be
I was
careful.
thinking. I don't know if I think I will cut copies of this from my deck. But maybe
Okay.
you're right. Maybe you do just want to keep chaining them. So kind of interesting. Hotfoot Gnome up next. 2 and a red for an artifact creature. 3/1 haste, and you can tap it to give another creature haste until end of turn. If that
Yeah,
matters.
so our one of our first cards that gets eaten by the Cogwork Wrestler.
Boom. There you go. We found our next one. Yeah. Uh
And there's a few 1/1 tokens, and there's a bunch of, like the unfortunate thing is the stat line on this 3/1 haste for 3 means you want to attack with it, and then the ability is like, well, you're not going to attack with it.
yeah. Yeah, I do think if this was a 3/2, that changes it, I think, quite a bit.
Yes. Well,
Don't
on basically at a point of toughness to anything, it becomes a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty I don't hate this card, but it's very filler. Like, I would just give it a D.
Yeah, I'm with you on D.
Cool. Idol of the Deep King. This is 2 and a red for an artifact with flash. It enters the battlefield and deals 2 to anything. Crafted with artifact, 2 and a red. The backside is Sovereign's Maku. This is going to be a hard word. I'm not even going to try to... Maku? I can't pronounce that one. I'm very sorry, everybody. But it's a sword.
Maquahidal?
Yeah, let's go with that. I'll go with yours instead of trying again. When it enters the battlefield, you can attach it to target creature you control. The equipped creature gets +2/+0 and equip for 2. So front side is a 3-mana shock, basically. Backside craft for 3 mana. You get a +2 equipment.
Yeah, so every pack has a double-faced card slot.
Mm-hmm.
I am really looking forward to frequently first picking whatever's going to be in that slot, but I will be so disappointed every time I open this card.
Yeah, it almost feels like this was supposed to... Maybe it started its life out as a 2-mana card, and they're like, a little bit too good. But the number is just like, change number somewhere, and it feels like, yeah, I'm excited about it. I think 3-mana shock just... not very good. Yeah, I can see... This is the kind of card I almost am like... It's so awkward looking that maybe it's just better than it looks, but I'm going to start low on it and just give it a D.
Yeah, like I think I could craft for 2, and I don't think that would be pushed.
No, yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
What do we have next?
I'm going to join you on it. Next, we have Plundering Pirate. 2 and a red for a 3/2 pirate. When it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token.
Ooh, I like this. Yeah, so I was an early adopter, shall we say, of Red Cap, what's it called? I forgot the name of it, the 2/3. Red Cap Thief, that's it. I was an early adopter of that card. I remember people were kind of low on it. I think as a 3/2, it's even a little bit better. So
I agree.
Yeah, I'm into it. It's a pirate, makes a treasure. I like C+.
Yeah, it's like, I almost want to give this a B-, but it's just not there.
I think so too. Child of the Volcano, great name. This is a 4-mana 3/3, 3 and a red. It's got trample, and at the beginning of your end step, if you descend to this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Child of the Volcano.
Yes, we talked about this with the black one we saw, the 2/2 menace that grows end of turn, like almost the same kind of thing. Where if you can grow this the turn it comes into play, and then it has the potential to keep growing, it's going to be good. But like, dies to A-Braid, it doesn't always trigger.
And when you say good, you mean like not embarrassing, right? Like you mean it's requisite power and toughness at that point. Yeah, same story here. I'm just gonna start low. Be happy if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna start D on Child of the Volcano.
I'm gonna go D+ just because I think it's easier to have descend trigger on turn 4. Mm. Like you're more likely, if you play a 2-drop and a 3-drop and attack with both of them on turn 4, your opponent's more likely to have to trade with something.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, and I guess I do like this a little bit better in a red deck than like a black deck, where, like you said, they're a little more incentivized to be trading off. So yeah. I'll join you at D+. Okay. Next up is Dinotomaton. Man, my brain is not working at this point in the start review. Dinotomaton. What?
Dinotomaton.
Yeah. 3 in a red for a 4/3. The dinosaur gnome artifact creature. It's got menace. And it says, when it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains menace until end of turn.
Yeah, so this is the first dinosaur we've seen in red at common. So again, like blue-green and red-green don't seem to be like super supported. Mm-hmm. But the nice thing about this is it's an artifact, so it kind of goes into more decks than one. And adding that ETB to it does make this card pretty decent, I think.
Yeah, that's big. I think this is still just like a C, but it's a fine C. Maybe C-, just, it's an artifact creature that dies to all that stuff, and maybe that's probably a downside and rather than an upside. Just as generally, and maybe you feel differently about this. Do you feel like something being an artifact is an upside or a downside?
I think it's an upside.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm firmly in the upside. Like you have the 1/2 goblin, mm-hmm. You have the 2/1 that like discovers pirates
right.
and
no, you're totally right. C? C-?
Yeah, I already worked on C.
All right. Dinotomaton, I think is how it's pronounced. All right. We got a reprint here, Rumbling Rockside, 3 in a red for a sorcery. It deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's
nothing
fine.
Special.
Sorcery speed, kill most things you want to kill. It's like a C.
Yeah, I think in most sets it'd be a C minus, but lacking removal, I think I'll give it a C.
Daring Discovery is up next. 4 in a red for a sorcery. Up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn. Discover 4.
I'm so glad this is up to 3 instead of all creatures. Like this is how they should make falters. Like
Right.
this is so much better.
Yeah.
Discover 4 though on this, like if you're playing a deck that wants a falter, you're going to be playing a lot of 1 and 2 drops. So I don't think that's a great text line.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd rather have this cost 4 mana and discover 2, maybe. Like I would be giving it to willing to give up 2 points of discover for 1 mana type of thing.
And also, as much as you were just saying, like, from a design perspective, we like, not just invalidating the rest of the game as this card is cast. Hazardous Blast comes to mind. It is less powerful by quite a bit than all creatures can't block. Like, if you're making the comparison between this and Hazardous Blast from All Will Be One, very different cards. Like not, they kind of read the same, but they're very different. I don't think I'm very high on it. I would just I can't imagine, like, this is probably like a 23rd card in your red aggro decks, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm gonna go D plus.
Okay, yeah. Probably a little bit better in your like big green red dino decks where you actually hit for a bunch and you can make maybe one small thing be able to block. But yeah, I like D plus as well.
Okay.
Panicked Altasaur. This is 4 in a red for a 4/5 reach. It's a dinosaur and it taps to deal 2 to each opponent. So we saw this one, the Javelineer, back in March the Machine. Wasn't particularly good, but that said, a lot of really good removal that punished expensive things. With no ETBs, the set, like you mentioned, not as much of that kind of stuff. And we liked that card in set review. Like, we like the concept of, like, big reach, red creature that kind of just sits there, blocks everything, and then pings your opponent. So, yeah, a little bit higher on this.
And it's a dinosaur. Like, types matter on
Types
this.
matter, definitely. Still probably not going to be a super high grade, like a C minus, but I think it's fine.
I have written down C minus as well.
Cool, and what is our last red common here?
The last red common is Seismic Monstrosaur. 4 red for a 6/5 dinosaur. It has trample. It has mountain cycling for 2. And you can pay 2 in a red and sacrifice a land to draw a card.
Okay, this is fine. Like, it's probably one of the better cyclers. Sort of Colossal Dreadmaw-y.
Yeah, this is. I don't think dinosaurs lacks cards like this, so
yeah,
a bit of a hit
definitely.
for that. But it is like having that grabby giant ability. Almost is pretty good. It's a nice way to like if you're flooded, it's great. If you're screwed, it's great. So I think this is a pretty good card.
Yeah, the mountain cycling and sack of land are kind of very nice and just kind of parallels to each other. C for Seismic Monstrosaur.
Yep, the better ones C, worst one C minus. Sounds about right to me.
Moving us on to the uncommon, starting with Diamond Pickaxe, single red mana for an artifact equipment. Indestructible. Very interesting. It says the equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has, whenever this creature attacks, you make a treasure token. Equip cost is 2.
Indestructible. I can animate this with my first pick, make the thing into a 5/4.
Boom, there you go.
Indestructible 5/4 on turn 3 attacking is no joke, let me tell you.
Yeah, I know, like, for real. Like, we're kind of laughing about it, but that is actually a very good play pattern. Let's imagine that isn't in the conversation, though. You're just playing this in, like, a red-white aggro deck. It's still quite good.
Oh, yeah, this is Goldvein pick, basically. Like, the costs are reversed, but...
Yeah, which definitely matters, because when you got a hit in with Goldvein pick, it was, like, a free equip, basically. But I think it's a fair trade-off to say when this attacks rather than treasure. Or sorry, rather than deals damage. So, gonna start relatively high on this one. I'm gonna give the pickaxe a C+. I think... Yeah, I think you could even see it creep into the B- range. But definitely one of the better equipments we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. What's next?
Oh.
I love this card.
All my blue-white plans, they're all down the drain, Alex.
Yeah.
This is Dreadmaw's Ire. This is single red mana for an instant until end of turn. Target attacking creature gets +2/+2 in trample. And when this creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact that player controls.
That's so much for 2 mana. Or sorry, for 1 mana. Like, trample, +2, kill an artifact. Like, yes, obviously there is the attacking creature. That matters. But it's going to matter a lot less in your red deck than it would in another deck. And you're getting so much for this single mana. Really strong card.
Yeah, this is like this is between a B plus and an A minus for me.
Yeah, I was gonna give it a B
I
plus.
think it's a B plus,
Yeah,
just because it has to be attacking. But it's
nice,
so good.
love it. Next up, we got Triumphant Trump. Single red mana for a sorcery, deals 2 damage, or deals damage equal to the greatest power among dinosaurs you control. To target creature, sorry, I should say.
Yeah, so, you don't have to be dinosaurs to play this.
Nope.
It's just a sorcery speed shock, which is fine, but it does get a bump in dinos, and this card's just good.
Yeah, if you go like a 4-drop dinosaur, 4-power creature, kill their 4, then when you untap and play another 4-drop, like that's a really, really good tempo play. So yeah, definitely a strong card. I would say outside of a dinosaur deck, it's just like a C, and then in a dinosaur deck, it's probably closer to like a B minus.
Yeah, so do you want to give it like a split the grade? Because unlike some of the other ones where we gave highest level grades, those ones are going to be played more in those decks.
Mm-hmm.
This one will be played in every deck, so I'm happy to like split the difference and call it a C plus.
Yep, that sounds good to me too.
Yeah, okay.
Belligerent Yearling is up next. 1 and a red for a 3/2 Trampler dinosaur. So another good cheap dino here. 2 mana 3/2 trample. Also, when another dinosaur enters the battlefield under your control, you can have the Yearling's base power become equal to that creature's power until end of turn.
Yeah, so now we're starting to see the payoffs for like there haven't been blue-green payoffs, but the dinosaur payoffs are definitely there at uncommon in green as well when we get there. Because this card is great.
Yes. It only changes power, so you can't attack unless like a 6/6 or something. It's going to be a 6/2, but you're still pushing a lot of damage with trample. Really good too.
Oh no, my 6/2, my 2-drop only attacks for 6 trample
Yeah.
power.
I know. Well, I'm only saying that because I misread it at first, and I'm sure other people did too. But yeah, definitely, it does not change the quality of the card very much. You want to give a B to the Yearling?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, sweet. And also, like three power on your 2-drop really matters in this set because we noted there are some pretty like big butts early on, so getting over those is nice. All right, what do we have next?
Next is Dowsing Device. 1 and a red for an artifact. When it or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, up to 1 target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains haste. Then transform it if you control 4 or more artifacts. It transforms into a cave land that taps for red, and you can pay 2 red and tap it to have another creature gains haste and +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Activate only as a sorcery.
So I do not think this card reads particularly well to most people, myself included. But whenever there's a card like that like asks you to do something, I always like push it to the limit. Like if you had a deck that was literally all artifacts, would you like this card? I think then, yeah, it's actually gonna pull its weight. But if you're below that, if your deck has, I don't know, let's say 14 artifacts, that's still a lot. I don't think this card's gonna do quite enough, or at least not consistently enough.
Okay, so I'm going to say something, and then I'm going to say something following that statement.
Okay? That's usually how talking works.
just
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying.
No, I gotcha. Yeah.
So if you curve this into the tote or whatever it is, the white thing,
yeah,
it flips right away, right? Like
yes,
it
that is
plus
true.
3 other artifacts, you've instantly flipped it. You've accelerated your land. You've got this thing that taps to give something +4/+0. Like that, it's not that hard to do. That card's a common, so in theory, it's easy to do that. But then you think of like, what's the play pattern there? You've added nothing to the board on turn 2. Turn 3, you've made first of all, the tote or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, we should probably say the card. It's the 3 mana white artifact that makes 2/1/1s, so you can sack it for 3 life.
Yeah, and the artifact's going to come into play and then trigger the 2/1/1s, so you won't even have a target for the first +1/+0 in haste.
Right.
Like you're going to lose a trigger basically.
Yes.
And then your 2 creatures are each going to trigger it, so you're attacking for like 2/2/1s and then flipping into something. So even like the best case scenario with this card, where it's easy to flip, I don't think is that impressive.
Yeah. Okay. I was really waiting for you to like blow my mind and be like, but with these cards, but it sounds like that's not the case here. So
I was pointing out that it's not like that hard to flip, but
right,
then if that's the case, like you don't even really care like that much.
Exactly. And I honestly, that's a really good way to think about cards in general. Like, what's your what's the state that you get to where it's like, hey, you're doing your thing, and then what's the actual payoff? And it's both hard to get there and not a great payoff. So, I don't know. Do we just call this straight unplayable?
I don't want to play this turn 2. I don't want to play it turn. If they play it and flips right away, then maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's straight unplayable. I'm gonna give it a D.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that in that mythical almost all artifacts deck, which is tough because a lot of the cards that pay you off for being artifacts aren't artifacts themselves, right? So it's like you have some natural tension there. Yeah, I'll join you at D because I do think there's enough words on this card and it's an uncommon that like makes me think that there's might be something we're just missing about it. Like we'll see the play patterns in play, but starting low for sure.
But sorry, just to stay on this
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
minute longer. If you play this on turn 5,
Yep.
you play it, you give something +1/+1 haste, and then that is your 4th artifact. It immediately flips, and you can immediately use the backside
Yeah.
to give something plus. I guess it'll be at least +4/+0, or no, at least +3/+0 because it won't count itself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you have a land that just gives something +X/+0 until end of turn. That's pretty scary.
It is. Yeah. No, there's a ceiling on this card. It's not like the ceiling does not exist. But
Yeah,
yeah.
but I'm still gonna stick with a D.
Yeah. Agree. Enterprising Scallywag, another good name. 1 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Pirate. At the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, you create a treasure token.
Yeah, so again, it'll be hard. Like, you want this to trigger most on turn 2, and it's
Mhm.
almost never going to trigger on turn 2.
No.
And then it also doesn't trigger, like, there's some stuff that wants artifacts to come into play, but it's end of turn, so you're not really taking advantage of that. So a little bit awkward, even though it's like a decent body for its cost.
And also just, we've been talking about how relatively easy it is going to be to descend, but that's in colors like black and green, and the ones that are grinding have the self mill. Red's not going to be doing that as often, so you are going to be mostly relying on specific cards or combat. So I think it's a fine 2-drop, but it's really nothing exciting. I'd give it like a C minus maybe.
Yeah, I was going to go C.
All right, let's go C for the Scallywag here. Sahelia's Lattice is up next. 1 and a red for an artifact. When it ETBs, you can discard a card. If you do, you draw 2 cards, so just a Tormenting Voice variant. But it's got Craft with 1 or more dinosaurs for 4 and a red. The backside is Mastercraft Raptor, X4, Artifact Dino. Its power is equal to the total power of exiled cards used to craft it. So you want to be hitting your big things with this thing.
Yeah, this is really interesting.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Anytime there's been a discard a card, draw 2 with upside, it's been a good card.
Yes.
Like we've seen Bitter Reunion, we've seen Invasion of Mercadia,
Mm-hmm.
and then Witch's Mark, and all of them were like really solid cards.
Yeah, it's another one of those cards that print that card on its own, no additional text, probably like just not good enough, but it doesn't take a lot for this template to be a good card.
It's basically drawing 3 cards, right? 2 cards plus the thing that you do need, I think, like, you need at least 1 dinosaur in your deck.
Yeah, or otherwise it's just like artifact Tormenting Voice, which is like fine in some decks too. But
sure, I guess that would still be playable
yes.
in like red, white, and red, blue. Yeah. So maybe you don't even need 1 dinosaur. Maybe that's not even true.
Yeah, I do think that if you do have no dinosaurs in your deck, it's not going to reflect the grade we're about to give it. Which I think is going to be relatively high. Like, I think these cards are usually about C to C plus, depending on what variant they are. I think this one lands a little bit more in the C plus. Could even get to the B minus side of things, but I'm gonna go C plus for the Lattice.
I'm gonna go with the B minus.
Okay, yeah, totally cool with me. We've got another quick one here. Zoiwa's Justice. This is 2 mana for an instant, 1 in a red. The owner of target artifact or creature with mana value 1 or greater shuffles it into their library. Then that player discovers X, where X is its mana value. So you get rid of something, but they get something else for free. This is a commander card, essentially. Not for us. You do not want to be doing this, and doesn't do that much. So F.
You said they get something else, but they could even just get the same thing.
They could get the same thing. Yeah, exactly. They shuffle their deck. So yeah. Nope. F.
Yeah.
What's up next?
Next is Scytheclaw Raptor. 2 in a red for a 4/3 dinosaur. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, This deals 4 damage to them. Oof.
Ouch. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
like you said though, not a ton of instant speed stuff in this set, so it's not going to be triggering. Like this set, this card would be way better in some sets. But still, it's a 4/3 for 3. It's a dino, cheap dino. This into play your belligerent yearling into this thing. Can't knock it too much, and there still is going to be instants. It's not like this is a set devoid of instants or anything.
Yeah, it's not going to be as good as the one that people couldn't gain life and had trample in Brothers War,
that card
but
was really good.
still a good card. C plus.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go C plus. Just well static creature, a little bit of upside once in a while. Type line matters. Calamitous Cave In. So this is the red cave payoff. 3 and a red for a sorcery. Calamitous Cave In deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker, where X is the number of caves you control plus the number of caves in your graveyard.
Yeah, so we talked about how the -2/-2 wasn't good. So you really need this to be dealing. I do think 3 is kind of the magic number.
Me too.
If you can get 3 damage off of this, you're going to be really happy with it.
Yeah, I would say so too. So I think, is this the best cave payoff we've seen though? After saying the last one might have been.
Yeah, I think it is, but at that point you need 75% of your lands to be caves. Like
yeah.
if you're planning on playing at turn 4 to catch you up and to deal 3 damage to everything, right?
Yeah, definitely a tall order. So, and this is just like all tying into, again, the cave grades are going to be weird because the deck, like, it either is going to function in your seat when you're drafting or it's not. I think if it's functional, this card's like one of the better cards for your deck, probably like the pull to drafting a cave deck. A B minus maybe.
Yeah, like a synergy B minus.
Yeah, synergy B minus, I would say.
I think that's reasonable for this card specifically. And the more I think about it, I'm wondering if the cave drafter is just take every single cave you can, like play whatever 12 to 15 caves, and then have the 2/1 Dune Shaper or whatever it's called, Dune Mover, with the thing that turns all your things into mana confluences. Like I think that might be the way to do it.
Yeah. Gonna be tough though. Still a tall order. Like if somebody else tries to do that too, you're not gonna have a very good time. Yeah. Gonna be tough. Gonna be interesting. What's up next?
Next we have Curator of Sun's Creation. 3 and a red for a 3/3. Whenever you discover again for the same value. This ability triggers only once each turn.
They always this is another slot. I feel like they've been good with tuning the cards that don't really work in limited lately. This is another slot they have to tune. The 4 mana 3/3 that gives you value if it sticks around. It's just not good enough. It just is gonna die. And the thing here too is like when you're discovering, is discovering again like that much of an upside? I mean, it's definitely an upside, but like it's not like you're like, wow, I'm running away with the game now. And the other thing too is like how many discover cards are you gonna get your hands on? There's not that many discover cards in the set. Like, you have 5 max, maybe? I don't know. I'm, like, pretty out on this.
Yeah. And, I mean, are you going to not play your Atali's Favor on turn 3 because you have this in hand? Like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just, it's too small. Hope you don't want to block with it when it comes down, which is just a huge problem. So, yeah, I'm out on that.
Minus?
Yeah, let's go D minus, sure. I almost want to just give it an F, but... This next one, though... This is a good one. This is Geological Appraiser. This is 2 red for a 3/2. And it says, when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you discover 3. Boom.
Yeah, this is also putting this into Atali's Favor is also going to be just fantastic.
Very strong. Yeah, very strong. And so this is, for those who have not been playing for 10, 15 years, this is a callback to a card called Blood-Braid Elf, which was this card, but with Cascade, which Cascade cared about the mana value, and it was also a 4-cost card, so it's kind of like Discover 3. That had haste, and that's a reasonable trade-off. You lose the haste, you gain the flexibility of Discover. And
also, because... like if Bloodbraid triggered into Atali's Favor, you wouldn't have a target.
Yes, exactly. That's a great point.
Because you get Cascade first, so this thing you can actually like it'll come into play, then it's a trigger. So there's potentially some more upside there as well.
Yeah, chat's going, wait, Bloodbraid Elf is an old card? Yeah, that card is like 14 years old at this point, chat. So actually 15, I'm pretty sure. Next up, this is our almost. Oh, sorry, not.
You're not even gonna grade it?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought we graded it. I was gonna give this a B.
B? Okay, I'm gonna go B plus.
Okay,
this
nice.
Card's fantastic. Yeah.
Gold Fury Strider. This is 4 in a red for a 3/5 artifact creature. It's got trample, and it says tap 2 untapped artifacts and or creatures you control. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Yeah, they're really handicapping these ones here, just like right in the places it kind of hurts.
Yeah, so when I first saw this, I thought it was just going to be one of these unplayable do-nothings. But when the full set was out and I kind of looked it over, I think this thing, for the same reason why I gave that white 3/3 that you can tap two things that put a +1/+1 counter on it, a non-unplayable grade, I'm going to do the same thing with this.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's unplayable either, but man, is my 5-drop artifact creature in my A-Braid set is definitely something I'm not super comfortable with. It's agreed though. It's definitely not like your opponent is going to care about this when it comes down. It's not maybe going to be like, oh man, devastating, but they can't just ignore it. It's going to actually affect the game. Sort of has a haste ability.
Yeah, exactly. Even if they do A-Braid this, you can still get value off of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can play it and then tap it in something else to target something, and then they A-Braid in response. Fine. But the fact that you can just probably do it the turn it comes into play to give something +2/+0, and then next turn maybe you can just turn this, like this can eventually just become like a 9/5 trampler or make your entire team bigger. There's a lot of flexibility in this, but it only works on offense.
Yep. So what do you want to give it? A D? D+?
I'm gonna go maybe a hot take C-.
All right. No, I think I'm actually gonna join you there. I do think, like when you said, yeah, it comes in and you can make something like, an 8-power creature right away. Not gonna happen all the time, of course, but like it's a possibility, and it's part of the range of the card. Yeah, I'm on board.
And again, that grade is only for aggressive decks, right? Like this is not a card you want to play in your control deck at
Yes, definitely. Our last red uncommon, Rampaging Ceratops, 4 in a red for a 5/4 dinosaur. It's got Super Menace. Can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures.
Yeah, so the Troll of Khazad Doom text.
Yeah, which is good text. Like
that text is relevant.
Yeah, you don't want to downplay the fact that card was a better card because it has land cycling 1 that made a huge difference. But this is an okay 5-drop.
And it's a dinosaur.
Yeah, it's a dinosaur. I'm still not going to grade it very highly. It's a C.
C-?
Yeah, C- maybe. Sure. Yeah, not as much as we were just talking it up. It's still not that exciting.
Yeah, I'll join you on a C. Like Super Menace is. It's almost like having two abilities: Menace plus Menace.
Right. All right, Mark. Give us our rounding out of red. What do you think about red?
Red doesn't look amazing. Like as usual, red's fairly aggressive, and there's a lot of good aggressive tools. And if you want to go like the red pirate artifact aggro thing, there's some support for that. If you want to go dinos, there's uncommon support for that. So, but not really more focus on one type of thing. So it's interesting to me that the uncommons that you might want to first pick put you more on one side of the red deck, and the commons, which is going to be the stuff that fills out your deck, is more on kind of the other side of things.
Yeah, that is a really good point, and I think that plays naturally with how people usually draft. Like I think people take like the higher rarity cards and are like, okay, let's build around this a little bit less. So like, what exactly, to either to their detriment or their benefit, not exactly like worrying too much about like what exactly is the most open color combination at the table.
Yeah, I guess the takeaway from that is like if you do first pick a red dinosaur card, don't assume you're going to be red green because there's a good chance that one of the other red decks might be a better fit for it.
All right, and that's red.